Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. And today I am going to be reading you something from the book Gene Keys about the 50-second gene key. Now, the reason I am doing this is because yesterday this information came to me through, I was watching a webinar about an upcoming class about gene keys that sounded interesting. So I'm listening to this webinar about this class. And in this webinar, the speaker, who's going to be the teacher of this class, started to share about stress and what it means in regards to what stress is in regards to the 50-second gene key. Now, this may be in his upcoming class. I don't know. Or I don't know if he was just sharing it. I mean, I think it is related to the upcoming class. But what he shared, I was like, holy cow, really? And I immediately pulled up, I have the gene key. I have a physical book, but I also have it on my Kindle. So I immediately pulled it up on my phone and started reading and scanning. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So for those of you who know me in real life or follow me on Facebook, you may know that this past week I have been very stressed with some changes at my physical office job in terms of we're switching to an electronic record system. So I've been very stressed, and I've been stressing myself. And so I have been dealing with what I thought might have been depression and then realized was probably burnout for the past month or so. And so I've been dealing and of course burnout is related to stress. And so like this topic has been very relevant in my life. And so I'm just amazed, but I shouldn't be because this keeps happening. Like what I need comes to me, the information I need, the resources I need. And as I know many of you also deal with stress, I feel compelled to share this information. This is not my information. I'm literally going to read out of the Gene Keys book because it is so fitting and like, wow. So this is all in the Gene Key frame when it comes to stress. And let me just read to you. So the 50-second Gene Key is about the still point. So the 50-second shadow is stress. So in gene keys, every gene key has a shadow, which is the quote-unquote negative manifestation of it. Then there is the gift. So we're moving up in frequency. The gift is then how that energy can be transmuted. And then from gift, you go to the city, which is like the highest level, which is like the ultimate of that energy. Just so you understand. So the 50-second shadow is stress. The phenotype of fear. The 50-second shadow is responsible for one of the greatest phenomena of the modern world, stress. Stress operates on many levels, although its primary impact takes place on the physical plane inside your body. This 50-second shadow and its programming partner, the 58th shadow of dissatisfaction, interesting, represents the deepest genetic binary pattern that undermines human health. Yes! This is especially true at the collective level. For that reason, we need to understand something very important about stress. This is what blew me away. It is a collective pressure, not a personal pressure. I'm still digesting that one. It is an energy field generated by every human being alive rather than being rooted in any specific personal issue. Wow. This means that stress is also deeply connected to our environment and to those around us. Oh yeah, I totally believe that. Our actual environment is formed by the boundaries of the human aura. The average human aura will extend to fill half of a normal-sized room, which means, generally speaking, when you are in the same room as someone else, you share each other's auras. Very true. The more people you have in the same area, the greater the collective auric body grows. In densely populated areas such as towns and cities, it is virtually impossible to escape the collective aura of others, even in the sanctuary of your own home. Yes. In more rural parts of the world, the pressure of the local aura is far less, and the degree of stress is therefore far less. Makes sense. Hence, or however, because of the huge population currently existing on our planet, it is no longer possible to entirely escape the vast collective energy of humanity. Billions of auras interlocking together form a great sheath that covers our world. The sheath or skin is what prevents human beings from seeing and experiencing the true unity of all consciousness. It is the construct known in the East as the Maya, meaning the great illusion. Human DNA is a fascinating substance. The chemical codes contained within DNA, although locked in from birth, are highly sensitive to vibrating energy fields. Geneticists refer to the genetic makeup of an individual as the genotype, whereas they refer to the manifestations that make up the phenotype. So, to an extent, the frequency of energy passing through the genotype determines the manifestation of the phenotype. Okay, makes sense. This means that your environment greatly affects how you feel and behave. Yep. And most importantly, it influences who you think you are. At the subtlest level, your environment is created by the subatomic world of vibration. The frequency you are tuned to actually determines the environment, regardless of your physical geography. In the case of the 52 shadow, the collective or extended phenotype of humanity is shaped by fear. Absolutely. Which creates an environment that puts the physical organism under great stress. Makes sense. The only way to escape this collective programming field is to rise above it at an energetic level, which is no easy task. I'm glad he said that. You must somehow raise the frequency of energy moving through your genotype. When this occurs, the phenotype, the way your nature is experienced and expressed, will also change. Most human beings will rise above this energy field for brief periods of time and then fall back into it again. It is extremely rare for someone to rise permanently above the field of stress. The secret is to change your inner environment, your feelings and your thoughts, thus changing what you see and hear. If all you hear is noise and all you see is chaos, then that will determine your experience. However, if you anchor yourself into a higher frequency, the same life can be experienced as though you were living in an entirely different world. Stress is a state of physical pressure brought about through the lowering of your frequency. One of the key manifestations of stress is the inability to escape mental anxiety. Yep. What happens is that you give the mind the authority to make decisions that you hope will end the stress. However, this nearly always ends in disaster because the mind's activity is actually the manifestation of the stress itself. That makes sense. This classic biofeedback loop reinforces the very state you're trying to escape. This 52 shadow is deeply connected with the functions of your adrenal glands, yes, and the classic fight or flight response in human beings. The activity of your endocrine system is directly related to the frequency passing through your genotype. And as we shall see when we get to this 52 city, the human glandular system is not limited to manufacturing hormones such as adrenaline that are rooted in fear and survival. One of the keys to understanding the 52 shadow is to be found in the name of the 52 gift, the gift of restraint. The low frequency expressed of the 52 shadow is rooted in the inability to keep yourself from reacting to fear. Sometimes the fear driving this gene key can be so deeply embedded in the unconscious that you have no concept of it at all. Nonetheless, this fear pervades our environment, and your reaction to it produces one of two responses. You either collapse or you run. Makes sense. Given its chemical connection to the adrenal system, this shadow is deeply implicated in physical activity or lack of activity, the two human responses to stress. As far as the 52 shadow is concerned, these are two types of people. There are two types of people. Those who cannot sit still, and those who are stuck. In our modern age, we tend to think of stress as being a chaotic, frenetic energy dynamic, but it also has this more repressed aspect. Natural life rhythms follow seasonal patterns. Life knows when to work and it knows when to rest. However, the collective power of the 52 shadow keeps human beings from trusting in this flow of life, and the shadow frequencies of this 50-second gene key enhance one extreme or the other. We can clearly see this manifesting in the world today. The West tends towards the extreme of restless activity, expansion, and improvement with little or no collective sense of purpose. And in the East has traditionally moved in the other direction, away from activity and improvement and more towards the religious and spiritual realms. Even though today, in a reversal of roles, the East is becoming more like the West and vice versa, the underlying phenotype of humanity remains based on fear, and the two polarities of this shadow continue to manifest. Until human beings experience their unity with all of creation, they will create and be driven by this underlying stress, the physical manifestation of our deepest and most hidden fear. Oh my gosh, this is all like, I was reading this yesterday going, oh my gosh, and I've read it a couple times now. So the repressive nature, the stuck. The repressive nature tends to be physically, emotionally, and mentally collapse under the pressure of the stress created by the 50-second shadow. These people never really get off the ground. The gift of restraint remains locked in this extreme shadow manifestation and leads to a deep feeling of being stuck. These feelings can so pervade the body that one enters deep states of depression and apathy. As these people give up on themselves, the adrenal system can actually atrophy, leaving them physically impeded in some way. Once one has sunk into these states, it can be very difficult to escape. One of the only means of lifting oneself free of such a state is to find a way to be of service to others. That's interesting. There's a deep genetic need in the 50-second gift to help others, and when this urge is engaged, gradually one can find one's life force returning. Interesting. This will be a long video. Reactive nature, restless. These are people who are unable to sit still. I know some people like this. Reactive natures, by their nature, try to escape their fear through activity. However, these people mask their fear through projecting their frustration and anger onto others. The restless aspect of stress is based upon overstimulation of the adrenal glands, producing more energy than one needs. However, the consistent secretion of adrenaline into the body actually causes great damage over time. Thus, these people often burn themselves out in life. The secret for such people is to see through their own mental dynamic and discover the deep fear that drives them. By confronting and embracing this fear, they will gradually erode its hold over them and learn to activate their gift of restraint. So now we move to the gift. The 50-second gift, restraint. Ecological torque. People may tend to devalue the 50-second gift because of the way it sounds. Restraint does not, after all, sound particularly exciting or dynamic. Ironically, however, this is one of the most remarkable gifts in the whole human genome. This gift, like all the gifts, is about striking a balance between the two extremes of energy, in this case, the energy of activity and passivity. In fact, no gene key is more fundamental to human life than this 50-second gene key. It determines the source signature of all activity in the world. If you begin something from a place of fear, that seed of fear will infect every aspect of the expansion of that activity. Even though the smallest human actions can sometimes lead to the creation of vast empires, if the seed of fear is there at the beginning, then like a virus, it will pervade the structure, and it will eventually bring that structure to the ground. The 50-second gift contains a secret of ecology. All true endeavors require a profound understanding of restraint, a phenomenon natural to all living systems. If a system is to last, it must learn to feed itself while it grows. If it is to proliferate, it must learn to diversify and take in an ever-expanding source of nutrients. However, for a system to be really successful, it must have one vital factor right at the core from the very beginning. It must serve more than just itself. The 50-second gift of restraint requires a great deal of patience and an understanding that everything in nature moves at its own speed. Particularly at the beginning, things appear to move slowly. The moment we try to rush an idea, we disturb the ground in which it is sown. You can see from this how easily human beings fall victim to stress. The 50-second gift, as you may divine, is a gift that concerns human organizations. At its deepest level, it contains the seed that will one day bring all human beings into a perfect organizational unity. For now, this gift concerns our own trust in life. To begin anything, you must first have a clear intention. The more selfless your intention, the more power it will have. If you begin with the right intention, then everything will follow, but you must resist the temptation to interfere with the process out of fear. Oh, yeah. The intention is a seed, and the seed contains all the necessary ingredients and properties that will be needed in the journey ahead. The seed even contains the specific fragrances that will attract the right allies at the right times. Oh, that's interesting. It is also true to say that the greater the power, the longer it takes to germinate. The seed of a yew tree and the seed of a sunflower are similar in size. However, while the sunflower will grow to its full size within a space of a few months, the yew tree has depth and complexity that will begin at different pace and follow its own timing. It may take 10 years just to reach the height of the sunflower, but it may live as long as 5,000 years. So it is with all human ideas and actions. Every human being alive contains this intention. It is the seed of your individual destiny. To get your intention clear, you must first ask yourself the question, how can I be of the greatest service to humanity? Then you must live the answer. Because we humans cannot see the details of the journey ahead, we have to trust in the direction that our intention takes, even if it does not make sense to us at the time. This is the power of restraint, to allow your life to unfold without urgent demand. We also saw from the analysis of the 52 shadow that another aspect of this gene key is the belief or feeling that we are stuck. Only if you lose touch with your innermost core can you be truly stuck. As long as you remain in touch with the seed of your true intentions, you may experience an outward pause, but you cannot be stuck. Deep within the seed, or indeed the plant, new shoots are being sown. It is usually at this stage when humans become restless and try to force a direction, damaging the delicate buds that will form the next phase in the evolution of your intention. Ironically, it is during the moments of outer pause, when all energy seems to have come to a halt, that the greatest growth occurs. Ooh, I love that statement. I'm going to quote that. The stored up energy and potential within a single human being is infinite, and it's in its proportions. However, this potential must be managed economically and allowed to grow and expand in an organic fashion. In this respect, the gift of restraint is about non-interference. When you apply this to your life, you have to accept as part of a far greater flow than you can see. And as such, you have to accept that there are times when you will feel deeply restrained. Restrained, yes. The acceptance of this restraint and its manifestations as patience is a truly powerful gift. There is an apt parallel here with the developing life of a young child. Children contain the seed of their own future, and if allowed to develop at their own pace and in their own way without too much interference, they will eventually flourish. Every parent has to find the delicate balance between laying down healthy boundaries and trusting in the life force as it moves through the child. It is through restraint that human power can be harnessed in a creative way. The 52nd gene key is a member of the codon family known as the Ring of Seeking. You will learn as you journey through each of the 6 gene keys of this codon that they are all concerned with pressure. It is the internal pressure that drives evolution. There's a vast amount of life force literally wanting to burst out of all human beings from within this aspect of our DNA. If you scan across the names of the gifts in this codon ring, you will get an idea of the power stored inside of you. Magnetism, dynamism, restraint, expansion, aspiration, and vitality. The 52nd gift of restraint stands out among these as not only as the only one keeping all this pressure in check. It is of huge importance in regulating your life and in maintaining a degree of internal rhythm and structure. It is this gene key that actually generates the torque that allows all systems to gyrate and evolve. Okay, then the 52nd city, stillness. So we went from the shadow, which is fear, to the gift, which is restraint, and now we're doing a level higher, which is the city, which is stillness. The stilling of the wave. An interesting phenomenon occurs at the highest level of frequency that may help us understand why the citic state transcends frequency altogether. If you consider what frequency really is, the oscillation of energy waves at different speeds and intervals, you'll find that there's a paradox when you take the frequency to either of its extremes. Energy waves oscillating at lower and lower frequencies would eventually stop altogether, and you would experience nothingness. At the other end of the spectrum, energy waves vibrating at higher and higher frequencies eventually become so close together that they merge and create another kind of nothingness. The nothingness represents the citic state. Obviously, there are many words used to describe this state: bliss or universal love, or in the case of this 52nd city, stillness. The city of stillness can greatly help us to understand the concept of transcending frequency. Paradoxically, both ends of the spectrum lead to the same state. At both extremes of the spectrum, we experience stillness. Many spiritual systems or great teachers have referred to the ultimate enlightened state as nothingness or void. The Buddha was particularly fond of this terminology. In fact, the 52nd city has a real taste of the Buddha about it. The ancient Chinese named the 52nd hexagram of the I Ching Keeping Still Mountain, and one is reminded here of the image of Buddha sitting in absolute stillness beneath the Bodhi tree, waiting for all phenomena to dissolve and the true reality of enlightenment to shine through. When a being attains realization through the 52nd city, some intriguing things occur. Since all frequency and energy patterns are experienced as stopping, you will find yourself sitting at the heart of all creation. All phenomena are experiences wheeling around you as you become the still point of existence itself. The incredible sheath of fear and stress caused by this world aura can no longer touch you, since you occupy a state outside of all vibration. This is why mystics use terms such as the spaceless space to describe this state. Along with this stillness comes the experience of the 58th city of bliss, the programming partner of the 52nd city. These two great cities, the 52nd and the 58th, mirror one of the great universal concepts of geometry and physics, the torus. The torus is a multidimensional geometric figure that lies at the heart of all time, space-time. The torus demonstrates the universal laws of energy dynamics based on torque and spiraling forces. At one end of the torus is the black hole, representing the yin pole that sucks, contracts, and unfolds all energy and matter into itself. At the other end of the torus is the white hole, representing the yang pole that releases, expands, creates all energy and matter outwards to create space-time itself. The torus is a magnificent figure that unites centrifugal, and centripetal forces, bringing implosive and explosive dynamics into the same system. Within human DNA, the torus at the heart of all being is directly experienced through the state of enlightenment, which unites stillness, the black hole, with bliss, the white hole. This experience of utter stillness and bliss is derived from a higher functioning of your genetics. The human endocrine system is essentially an alchemical factory in which chemicals and hormones are combined and created. As we saw with the 52nd shadow, the granular functions of the human body secrete the hormone adrenaline whenever the shadow is activated through fear. People living within the illusory field of the low frequencies are actually addicted to this hormone and the fear it creates. However, at the citic level of frequency, or lack of frequency, the body actually creates hormones and neurotransmitters that are extremely rarefied. Every city has a unique glandular secretion, and in the case of the 52nd city, a hormone is secreted which induces bliss and stillness through the body. For millennia, humans have sought these magical secretions and have mythologized them as elixirs and panaceas that can be created chemically. In recent years, certain substances and drugs have been created that imitate or activate these hormonal secretions, an example of which is the drug ecstasy. What we need to understand is that the process of mutation leading to such hormonal secretions is a highly delicate organic process that is catalyzed by a far more subtle process occurring at an energetic level. As this process has passed through many organic stages without interference, the body creates a physical counterpart to the subtle process that has taken place. In the case of the 52nd city, the experience of time standing still is reflected through a neurotransmitter that effectively stops thought when awareness is not required for communication. If you have read the 55th gene key, which I'm going to go study soon, You have also read about a collective phenomenon that will soon be coming into the world known as the stilling of the wave. This phenomenon will come about as a result of a physical genetic mutation that is predicted to sweep through humanity beginning around the year 2027. This mutation will trigger a sequential process involving the flowering of the 64 gene keys at a collective level and the expanding emergence of the gifts and cities in the world. The expression stilling of the wave refers to the stilling of the chaotic emotional energy field that currently dominates our planet. One of the cities we will see coming into the world more and more is the 52nd city. Remember that this 52nd gene key is a seed archetype, and it concerns the unfolding of intention through individual destiny through service. As all cities are collective in nature, the 52nd city also contains the seed of a great new beginning and the original intention and dream of mankind to realize our position as the still point at the heart of creation itself. The 52nd city contains within itself the power to focus humanity into a single unified pattern. It emulates a collective energy field that will eventually pacify the human emotional system. The 52nd shadow of stress is closely related to time. Much stress is caused because people experience time as moving so fast that they panic and try to catch up with it. The aura of a single being manifesting this 52nd city will literally stop the thoughts of everyone in their vicinity. It is a city that increases the wavelength between the particles of the subatomic world, and in doing so, it slows down perceived time. Every city floods the energy field of humanity with its essence, so the presence of even a small number of beings at this level of subconsciousness will change the way in which all human emotions operate. This kind of influx of stillness into our planetary aura will make it possible for millions of people to follow their right destiny into far wider service of the whole. The 52nd gene key. Wow, like that so put a different spin on stress for me. Like, stress is this collective thing. It's not just me. I'm just feeling it. Very interesting. A lot to digest. So I wanted to share that. It has been a blessing to me. I hope it is useful to you, or at least gives you something different to consider. All right. Until next time.